Okay, so for this very first lesson, we are going to study its quadratics. Lesson 1. And basically what happens is a quadratic, so the definition of a quadratic, is going to be of the form, it's just an equation of y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. This is what we call standard form. We have y is equal to a x minus 1, r to the 1, and x minus r2. And this is called factored form. And I'll explain what all of these do in just a minute. And then this one, y minus k is equal to a x minus h squared. And this is called vertex form. So a quadratic basically is just, these are all equations of quadratics, but equation and the quadratic graph. So that graph is going to be called a parabola. And it's going to be U in shape. So if you have a positive A, so all of these things, if this is your A, and if that is positive, we consider this to be this nice little happy graph. So it's going to be happy graph, and it's going to point up. Now, if you have A, and if it's a negative A, still the same location. So if A is now going to be negative, so if these are just going to be negative now, then this would be considered a sad graph. All right, so that just tells you if it's happy and sad. So these are all quadratics. This is that whole thing is that we are studying quadratics. So basically in this first lesson, and then this is just a different way to do it. So what happens is when we're studying finances, we're going to take that supply and demand information and we're pretty much going to put those things pretty much together. So when we're looking at, your ticket sales, you're going to have, okay, so I've got 20 things minus X. That's going to be your sale. So that is going to be pretty much the whatever you're going to have. And then the X, so this is your X, is your sales. And then if you get too much, then you have a maximum limit of 20. And then and then that's going to be how many sales. So you've only got 20 items of something. So that's your supply. That's your supply. So you only got 20 things, and then you're going to sell this many X things. So this part is what we consider to be a linear function. And if you have your friend Desmos and you type that in, and if I just typed in that function into Desmos, so if I just typed in y equals, oops, I'm going to make this so you can see better. So if I just type in y equals, and then I have 20 minus x, you will see that that's your nice little linear function. So that one's going to be linear. And then what happens is now what we call is now this is going to be and that's going to be nice linear function. So this was my little graph. It went like that. And that is today what we are calling, and now we're going to study revenue. And this is what we're studying today. Revenue is you're going to take your tickets times whatever you're going to get. So X is the number of tickets, and that 20 minus X is like your supply, how many you actually have. And then what happens is, then you're going to multiply that. So when I multiply those together, and I graph that function, so if I get x, and then I go times, parentheses, 20 minus x, this right here, I'm going to make this smaller so you can kind of see it. That right there is your parabola. So that blue shape right there, I'm going to turn off my red one. That blue shape is your parabola graph. So that's going to be your parabola. I'm going to change my window so we can see a little bit better. So that's your parabola graph, that blue shape right there. That's your parabola. So this happens to be upside down. So it's a sad graph, and that's because A is negative. And so if you did this, if we go through, and you don't have to do this. I'm never asking you to do this in this whole thing because you're always going to use your friend Desmos. But your whole thing is you're just going to type in numbers to fill this out. So my next little example is, let's just say you have x, and then I have that this is 4, this is 8, this is 12, this is 16, this is 20. And then what happens is you're going to have that supply or whatever, and then I'm going to have 50 minus x. So what I'm asking you to do today is that you're going to go through and you're going to look at that. So now when I go through, I'm just going to use my friend Desmos, and I'm going to go 50 minus 4, because x is 4, and I get 46. And then I'm going to change my 4 to an 8, and then I get 42, because 50 minus 8 is 42. It's okay to use your friend. And then 50 minus 12, 38. And then 50 minus, 16 ends up being 34. And then minus 20 ends up being 30. So now one thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go a little bit more now, and I'm going to go 30. I'm going to count by 30, and then 40, and then 50. Because now you can kind of see. So you really have to pay attention because you're not always going to have nice numbers here that work out to be always perfect. So this one is 20 minus 30. You can probably do that math by yourself, and that's 30, or that's 20. And 20 minus 40 is 10, and 50 minus 50 is 0. I'm going to make that so you can actually see it. So that's 20. So 50 minus 30 gives me 20. And you can use your friend if you want. So that next piece, this is where it's going to be a lot different. I'm going to do this in a different color because this is kind of what you need. So now the difference is this last one is going to be x, your ticket sales times whatever this represents, whatever x represents, whatever this column represents, and then you're going to multiply. So now what you're going to do is you're going to take these numbers. I'm going to take these numbers. So I'm going to take 46, and I'm going to multiply it by that number in front, that x number, which is 4. So 184. And then I'm going to go 42 times 8. And I get 336. Then I'm going to go 38 times 12. And I get 446, or 456, excuse me. And then 34 times 16, and I get 554. Then I'm going to get 30 times 20, 600. And then, 20 times 30 again is 600. That's not a mistake. There's a method to your madness. And then, and then 40, you probably don't need a calculator, but just in case, 40 times 10 is 400. And then 0 times 50 is 0. So now if I type in this function, x times, and then parentheses, 50 minus x, and I close my parentheses and I kind of look and I zoom out just a little bit, I can see that right here, that's going to be my maximum price. So this is going to be your maximum price. And the nice thing about Desmos is you can just look at that. So this would tell me that 25. So if I have I just make a sketch. The whole thing is you are not doing this without your friend Desmos. So here's my nice little sketch. That right there, 25, 625. And I used my friend Desmos. And then these, where it hits right here, I always like to have these special numbers, and those are 0, 0, and 50, 0. So 0, 0, and then 50, 0. Those special numbers, these are called your x-intercepts or your roots, and we'll study that in your next lesson. But this is really kind of like, hey, this says that when I sell 25, when I make the price of tickets or whatever X is at 25, I can sell or I can make a profit at 625. So that 25 means if we sell 25 tickets, then my profit can be $625. So if this was your tickets, this is your profit, revenue. So that would be my revenue. I shouldn't say revenue. It shouldn't say profit. It would be your revenue. And then that will just really, that's your whole assignment today is what you're really talking about.